Please pause the video and try this warm-up problem. When you're finished, then you can unpause it to see the answer. All right, so remember we have two different formulas for these types of problems. We have one where we have to find the value of n, and then one where we're using that base of e. So remember, when you have words like monthly, that's going to help you find your value for n. But for both of the problems, 4,500 was that initial amount, so that was the p value. That rate is 3.5%, which has to be turned into a decimal. So remember, either move the decimal two places to the left or divide by 100. So that's why I have 0.035 in the problem. T is going to represent the 7 years because that's the amount of time. So in the first one, because it's compounded monthly, we have 12 months in a year. Make sure that you show exactly what it is that you're going to be typing into the calculator. And then when you put it in, make sure you're rounding to 2 decimal places because we're talking money. With compounded continuously, that's when we use the base of E. All the information, though, is the same as far as the initial amount, the rate, and the time. Once again, show me what it is that you are going to be putting into the calculator and rounding to the nearest cent. We want 2 decimals, and so this is my answer. So let's review some application problems that you will see on your quiz today. So when you have the function that is given to you, so in this case it says the function f of x equals 13.4 times the natural log of x minus 11.6. Remember, that is an L. It's the LN button. It's located on your calculator depending on, so if I was to kind of draw a calculator screen, you've got your second button over here on the left, then you have your log button, then you have your LN button. So most of you, I think, are using those calculators. That's where that button is located. If you don't have that type of calculator, I would suggest that you borrow a yellow calculator for the quiz today. So maybe make sure you go and actually grab one right now so you can follow along with this. But with that LN button, we are going to be using that in the calculator to be able to do this problem. So it's saying that this is modeling the temperature increase to the nearest degree. We want to find the temperature increase to the nearest degree after 50 minutes. So that value of x in this is going to be the number that is provided to us down here. So I want to plug 50 in for x. So in the calculator, if you're using the yellow one, you can literally type exactly what you see. We have 13.4, then you can hit that LN button and it comes with a parenthesis. So right off the bat, then you can put in that number 50. But notice that you then have to close the parenthesis before you start subtracting that 11.6. If you do not close that parenthesis, you will not get the correct answer. So make sure you close that parenthesis. But if I then calculate that, we should end up getting 40.8211 and so on and so forth. But notice that the model is asking for us to go to the nearest degree. So nearest degree means that I really just want to look at that first decimal. Because it's 40.8, I need to round it up. So we are talking 41 degrees. So that was the temperature increase based off of this model after 50 minutes. Here's another example. It says students in a psychology class took a final examination as part of an experiment to see how much of the course content they remember over time. They took equivalent forms of the exam in monthly intervals thereafter. The average score, f of t, for the group after t months is modeled by the function f of t equals 76 minus 18 times the log of t plus 1. T is in between the range of 0 and 12, which makes sense because we're talking months. There's 12 months in the year, so you're not going to go over 12. So if it says, what was the average score after 2 months? That's going to represent the value for T. Now, once again, that log button is located in your calculator. So like I just mentioned, on your calculator, if you're using the yellow calculator, after the second button underneath, you see the word log. That's the button you're going to use in this problem. So if you're using that yellow calculator, you are going to type it in exactly how it's written here in this function. 76 minus 18 times the log, and then in parentheses, we want 2 plus 1. Close the parentheses and see what we got here. You should have the number 67.4118 and so on. So hopefully that's what you're seeing in the calculator. Okay, so if we're talking about what was the average score, it doesn't tell you exactly what to round to. So I'm just going to round to one decimal. So the average score was roughly a 67.4%. So after 2 months, they only knew 67.4% of the material that they had previously learned. In the next part, when it says, what was the average score after 1 year? Well, hopefully we're okay with the fact that 1 year is 12 months. So instead of using 1 for T, I actually need to use 12. But we're using the exact same model here. So you want to type that in exactly how you see it. And in the calculator, you should be getting 55.949 and so on and so forth. But once again, I want us to round to one decimal place here. So notice that I look at the second decimal. I see that it's a 4, which means I'm not going to round up. So 55.9% is the material that they knew after 1 year. Okay, so hopefully you are okay with the formulas for the compound interest, and you can clearly plug in numbers with natural log and log into your calculator, because that's what you're going to have on your quiz today. Before you take your quiz, I want you to start working on this, which is page 422, numbers 81 through 100. This is evaluating, I believe, without a calculator, so don't use a calculator for this. But at the halfway mark, so with 20 minutes left of class, that's when you should begin your quiz, and that's what I told the sub. So make sure you kind of keep time, and if you notice that the halfway mark, if there's 20 minutes and the sub hasn't said anything, please remind them that you have to take a quiz. The quiz, you can use a calculator, but everything else has to be cleared off your desks. No phones, nothing like that, just a calculator. All right. If you're doing the homework and you have questions, please reach out to me and I can get back to you.